fue.
This is Jason J. Lewis, the voice of Superman on Justice League Action.
This is Mark Waid, writer of Superman Birthright.
And you're listening to The Krypton Report.
And you're listening to Krypton Report.
Up in the sky, look!
It's a bird!
It's a plane!
It's the Krypton Report.
The All Things Kryptonian podcast, including Superman and Supergirl.
We discuss games, movies, cartoons, TV shows, and comics.
Find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter.
Welcome to the Krypton Report. Yes, I have a little bit of a cough. I apologize. It's mainly because seasonal allergies. So I got that out of the way. Whew. All right, good. Now we're going to jump into DC Fandom Day 2, which was weird. But I'm going to bring along my pal James, and he's here, Mr. James Cole. What's up?
Whoop, whoop. Hey, how's it going?
We got some news to go over, but you know what's funny is I feel like everything that's in the news kind of came out mostly through fandom. But yeah, we'll start with this. This was non-fandom, and then we'll just kind of move through. Wonder Woman, the movie, it's moving to Christmas Day. It's very sad because it was on Jania's birthday, and part of last year, her birthday plans was her and I went and saw Joker, even though we didn't get to go when we wanted to, because that's around when her grandma passed. And so this year we were like, oh man, we're going to all go and take mommy to see Wonder Woman. And that's not happening. So it's coming out on Christmas Day. That's weird. Okay, so my first thought, and I sent you this, the problem, they're comparing it to the numbers for Tenet. And I understand that to a point, but here's something else. Tenet is cool, but Tenet is not the kind of film that I'm going to take my whole family to see at the theater. As much as I would love to see it on the big screen because of that, it doesn't call me as just a general moviegoer as if I have to see this. Oh my gosh, we have to see Tenet. We have to see Tenet. You know what I'm saying?
Right. I definitely want to see it. I'm a big fan of Nolan, and he makes some very interesting, compelling movies and good films. I definitely want to see it, but it's not on my priority list.
And that's what I'm saying. But a movie like Wonder Woman, that is to me, it's not a family movie, but it is a movie that I can take my whole family to see. That to me is going to be more of the movie that you're going to get me to go see. Something that a lot of people are dying to see, that makes them feel good, that they can kind of go out more than just by themselves. But that's the type of movie that that's what we need, That is the film that type of film is what they should try to put out, And I understand the whole, it should be experienced on the big screen, Okay, but at this point, I've lost my hype for it. It's been changed how many times, and I get because of the pandemic, but at the same time, I just, it's you're why keep changing the date?
By the time, by the time, if it releases on Christmas Day, it will be over a year from its original release date. So, that kind of kills some of the hype for it for the people like us who have been waiting and expecting it. For a lot of the general audience, when it finally does come out and if people are comfortable going to the theaters, it's going to be oh, a new Wonder Woman, theaters, you know what I mean? People are going to start doing it again. Like I said before, it is kind of a pendulum swing. With this whole quarantine and shutdown and everything, it's really one extreme. It's the pendulum to the far end. When things actually finally get back to, quote unquote normal, people are going to flood the theater. You know what I mean? If people feel comfortable and things are back to normal, that pendulum is going to swing the other way. And if they do, and if they do hold Wonder Woman and it releases and people are comfortable with doing that and going back out and people believe that things are normal again and they're comfortable at it, Wonder Woman is going to make serious bank.
Yeah. But the thing
You
is,
know what I mean? It's kind of going to happen. It just sucks this time in between.
the thing is, it's just like, but there's nothing to test that. You know, like there's been nothing released where it's like, what do you call it? Let's all go try and see this movie because, you know, it's out. I don't know. It's just one of those things where I'm like, you're all waiting for it to get better, but
it's hard to gauge, and people are saying that this movie is gonna test, or they're using Tenet as a test. I mean, they wanted to release Tenet before they released Wonder Woman, and they got the opportunity to do it. And yeah, they're gonna consider the numbers and things like that, but for the fact that everything's been shut down for the rest of this year, like nothing's here to come out to quote unquote test something.
Right.
They're just going to have to start releasing things when the time is right. And it's just, we're going to have to see what happens at that time.
Yeah. I mean, they put out New Mutants as a test, you know, and.
But also that movie was supposed to be released 3 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. The New Mutants were due years ago, so there was like a little bit of hype for it. But in all honesty, I mean, still, there's something that you have to like that has hype that I think can really speak volumes to the people, you know, like.
Right. I think Disney is finally happy just to finally get New Mutants out and off its plate, you know, because they were contractually obliged to have to release it in theaters.
Yeah.
And like, we can finally release it and it's the only thing out and it'll make something.
Yeah, I mean, which is great because they gave people something to go see, which was a good test to see if people would go. But now you got to give people like something really like that we've been wanting, like so yeah, I mean, they moved it, and I don't know, man. I just am at a point where the hype for Wonder Woman for me, like the second trailer was cool, but like you've released the trailers, you've released like merch and tie-ins and specials, and
I mean, it's got to be tough though. You know what I mean? Because they're constantly having to drag their feet on everything, you know, and they want to release it. They want to release all this marketing and they want to release all this product and stuff like that. And every time they think they get a chance and they give a release on something and then they have to push it further, like, it's like, man, like, I can't like go. I keep dragging my feet and I can't just take off running, you know? Kind of like Wonder Woman did when she was sprinting down the street. That trailer was sweet. I've watched all those trailers over and over and over again. Not as many times as I watched the Justice League trailer, but
it's like the Snyder Cut I know is coming because it's done and it's going to be on streaming, you know? So like I'm happy, like I know that's coming. So I can be excited about that. You know, like, oh my gosh, what did Sayla say the other day? She's like something about watching the Snyder Cut. And then Solomon, he even said, Daddy, can we watch Justice League even though it's not the Snyder Cut? I was like, wow, buddy, like, I don't care. I mean,
nice.
Like, I was just looking at him like, Solomon, it's still like a fun movie. Like, it's a unique movie to watch. I'm like, we can still watch it and enjoy it.
Yeah.
You know, like
No, Justice League wasn't bad. It just it wasn't the movie that it wasn't the movie that got made. And you know, for people like us who are huge fans of Zack Snyder, and had followed, you know, we can and after multiple viewings, we can see more and more of the scenes, and it just becomes a little more of a chore to watch because you're like, man, it shouldn't be like that. Like, we know this is different. Like, the narrative should have been something else, just in this, in each part alone, you know, and individually, not even as just a whole. But
we just knew too much about it.
Yeah. And I mean, granted, even if I didn't know as much as I did about it and I went and watched it, I enjoyed it. I had a good time, but I also would have walked out like I did. Like, that's not a Zack Snyder movie. Like, that is not a Zack Snyder movie. His name's on there, but that's not a Zack Snyder movie.
Yep. So, yeah, I mean, I'm excited for it because I don't see them be like, delay again, even though you've already been waiting like your entire life for this.
I feel like I've been waiting my entire life for this. And not Wonder Woman, but Wonder Woman too.
So I just don't want to be like, you know, like a downer, but at the same time, like I'm just like, I am not as excited for Wonder Woman like I once was. Like well,
it's hard to maintain that. You know what I mean? We say that, and everybody says that as we're talking, and they keep pushing it, you know, and you hear people saying that all the time on the other podcasts that we listen to, and you can't maintain, you just physically and mentally can't maintain that level of hype that you once had for it when it keeps getting pushed like this. But you know, when it comes out and you finally get the chance to see it, you're gonna be there. And, you know, we're all fairly confident that it's gonna be pretty damn good because, you know, Wonder Woman was really good. Gal Gadot is really good. Chris Pine is really good. We know Kristen Wiig is a good actress. We know that Pedro Pascal is a good actor. We know that Patty Jenkins is a great director. So, you know, there's a lot of components, and we are confident that it's going to be a good movie too. So we'll be there. That's for sure.
I mean, that's the thing. We'll be there, and that's why I wish it was like that was the movie. But no, I keep harking on it. You know, all I'm saying is, like, if they just said, "Hey, we're just going to put it out on digital," I'd be like, "All right." Like,
I'd pay for it on digital. I would. You know, I would be there first day, just like I was Bill and Ted. I'd buy it first day.
Yeah, I'm just like, I'm at the point, and then if they come back later, and they're like, "All right, we're gonna do a special," you know, after a year later, like release or something in theaters or something. You know,
yeah.
I'm like, okay.
You never got a chance to see it big screen. Like, I'm gonna go see it on the big screen.
Because I just feel like
it's a great movie.
At this point, like that whole adrenaline, like I gotta see this thing now, is like slowly gone, and I hate that.
Like, and I'm gonna say when. It may never happen, but I'm gonna say when they do a limited engagement to release Zack Snyder's Justice League on the big screen, I'm going.
Oh yeah,
and I'm going multiple times.
And I'm gonna try
even after I've seen it a bunch of times on HBO Max, even after I've seen it a bunch of times on my digital copy I bought or my physical copy I bought. Like, I'm still gonna go see it on the big screen when they release it for a limited engagement.
You know, it's one of those things that. Yeah. So. All that to say that I'm down about the move, but all right, let's move on.
I'm down about the delays. I am. I am. I'm just trying to maintain positivity.
That's what we do. Okay, so this is interesting. I saw this just on Twitter, and I have nothing more than this one thing, but the Suicide Squad has screened for test audiences. I don't know where or when, but supposedly Margot Robbie and go figure, and what do you call it? Idris Elba like stand out and steal the show. So
Big surprise.
that's what I'm saying. Go figure. So, but that's interesting that they're test screening. Like, where? How's that working? Come on. And then,
Well, test screens probably aren't here in America.
yeah, for real. But yeah,
Not right now, anyways.
so the last thing that I have that's non-really from fandom is Brian Michael Bendis is going to end his run on Superman and Action now in December with issue 28 and 1028.
Is it bad that I'm happy that that's happening, that I'm excited for a new team to work on Superman?
No, because here's my thing. Okay, so this is going to start us with fandom. And I'm going to say this, and then we'll go into fandom. Did you watch the panel that he was on with Dan Jurgens and Gene? I can never pronounce his last name correctly. Who just wrote Superman Smashes the Klan?
Unfortunately, you bring up Superman Smashes the Klan, and I can't find my part 3.
I don't have part 3.
I'm mad.
Because
I'm upset.
I
lost
should
the
have
bag with some comics.
I should have bought it
somehow.
one day, but I was with the kids and I got them something, and it's been extremely hard to because I wanted to read it as it came out. I didn't want to wait for the collection, and now I can't find part 3.
Well, next time I go into my shop, if they have another copy there, I'll get you one.
All right.
Send it your way.
Sounds good. I really like that story, and I was reading it as it came out, and then it just kind of took off real fast, and
Well, unfortunately, like part 3 came out at the time of the shutdown, so it kind of got lost in the
exactly.
shuffle.
That was my issue. You know, it came out right then. It got lost in the shuffle. And yeah,
All that to say with Bendis, you know, I haven't read issue 25, and I mean it's 25. It's an extra size, it's an oversized anniversary edition, and it's introducing the new villain, Sinmar. Mm-hmm. So this is a second new villain that Bendis has created, and I mean from the advertisements they say he's the most dangerous villain since Doomsday. So we'll see. I don't know.
Yeah, I thought Rogolzar was supposed to be something cool, but you know that wasn't. But my thing is with the panel with Bendis, and I'll bring this out, is you know he talked about how he started, how when you're writing the comic and stuff, you inherit like the story from the people that were doing it before you.
Of course.
And he talked about getting. That and how, you know, Superman as a father was not something he would have done. And he took that from Jurgens and had to work with that. And he says now, as in writing, he became a father. And he kind of basically regrets some of the things that he did with John in that story.
So that's something he wouldn't have done. But he came on to Superman after Superman had a child since 2016.
Right.
He came on knowing that he had a child, and he didn't work with it, or he
got rid of it.
His questionable choices and got rid of it.
And that makes me like the person
that makes sense.
The person who takes over after Bendis, you know.
Well, I mean, what are we looking at? We know Bendis is getting off on Superman. His Young Justice is ending. That's a book that's being canceled. Wonder Comics is ending. That whole line. I mean, is Naomi going to continue? What's going to happen to like the Wonder Twins and all the characters who were in Young Justice? I mean, like apparently Jim Lee and DC aren't too happy with what he's done with Superman and with the rest of his books. Mm-hmm. I mean, if they're canceling all that stuff because they're not selling, I mean, maybe they were happy. Maybe it's just a business decision and they're not selling. I mean, Young Justice has been fine. I prefer reading Young Justice to picking up his Superman books.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, books aren't selling. Bendis hasn't been the best on on the books he's been on in DC. So
Yeah. I mean,
yeah, he hasn't done anything at DC like he did on Ultimate Spider-Man back over at Marvel. So
I mean, what will he do next? You know,
right.
we will see. But I mean, a lot of people hate what Bendis has done. I haven't hated it, but I haven't been in love with it. You know, it seems like some people have loved what Bendis has done. They're like, "Oh, he's so great."
We've been on here discussing it. We've both been up and down on Bendis's run. There's been some good stuff, and then there's just been some stuff we just plain old didn't like.
So, you know, we will see.
You know, like, with Batman, you know, I was trying to keep up on the end of Batman, especially coming up to City of Bane, finding out that Bane was kind of like the big villain this whole time behind the shadows in Tom King's run.
Yeah.
So I was kind of like coming up on that, trying to read that, you know what I mean? Because I love Bane, and even going into City of Bane and stuff, it was lackluster, and then it ends, and we come up to Tynan, and Tynan's doing Batman, and from the first issue I read, I've been reading every single issue of Batman since Tynan got on, and I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed it thoroughly.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
and not everything's for everybody, and you know, that's the way it is. But I'm looking forward to a new team getting on Superman. I would really like to feel about the Superman books like I am currently about the Batman books.
and I wouldn't mind if they have a different team per book. You know, like this team's doing action and this team's doing Superman. You know, I don't need like writing both.
Yeah. Well, and unfortunately, you know, his timeline in his Superman and action books have not lined up with the timeline of the rest of the continuity or the Justice League books. Like, they tried to pull it, go in and out of what's happening with the Justice League, and I mean, the whole death metal is kind of its own thing. Like, how does that fit in with the current continuity of everything that's going on? You deal with crisis books as they come, but
yeah.
it's just Bendis seemed to get to pick and choose when and where his books kind of went in and out of the Perpetua storyline, and it didn't line up.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's been frustrating too. I've brought that up on many occasions, talking about the books.
I mean, it just sucks because you're like, I am trying to follow your story, and like that's why I like when you get, if somebody wants to write this as their Superman story, great. Give them that special, like when they did the Superman, was it Up and Away, Up in the Sky?
Tom King's run on Superman.
You know, you do like Bendis's Superman line or whatever. You know, like find someone who has a story that's really willing to work in the.
Yeah, if you want to give them a maxi series or something, you know, mini series or a maxi series, as long as it's working and it's selling and it's its own thing and it's not mainline continuity, you know. But if you're getting a mainline continuity book, like it should fit into mainline continuity. Yeah, and there were a lot of things that didn't in Bendis's books.
You need to play along, but that's ending. And then, you know, I've heard people who are longtime Superman readers who, when Bendis got on, they quit. And
I know, well, you know, like DC Comics Squadcast, like when a book is just continually losing them and they're not interested in reading it, they'll end up dropping it, and they they mainly work with the big 7 books. You know what I mean? The characters who are from the Justice League, their books and the other books that they're connected to, and after a little while on Bendis's books, they drop Superman. And you drop Superman.
That is one of those that's like a really hard one for me, because I don't ever, like, even in the New 52, I was getting Superman because it was Superman. Like, I don't give up on Superman. But I get where some people feel they have to. And sadly, I'm sad for you.
Well, it's like us. We don't give up on Superman. We keep buying the Superman books, just like people don't give up on Batman. They keep buying the Batman books, even if the story isn't going the way they want. So.
Yep. So, I mean, I just hate, like, you came in, you had your agenda, and you did it, but you ruined something that was being really, really loved. And, yeah. But it was great to hear.
John was John in the whole parenting aspect of Superman being a father to a child coming into his own, just starting to have and learn superpowers, and then you just erase it. Yeah, that was a tough thing to do, a tough pill to swallow,
So, all right. So that was a great panel, though, just to hear Gene talk about Superman and his experience, finding out that Gene talking about his parents. This was a great story. If you guys find the panel online, he was talking about being an immigrant Chinese family, and there was they were seeing this display of almost like a pop-up museum, and it was all Superman stuff. And you could go in, and how his parents were talking in Chinese, and the guy was you had to pay for a ticket to get in, and the guy was looking at him, and then he tells him to come over, and the usher guy basically he lets them in, and he just he gives them tickets and tells them to go on inside. And Gene said, that's like a very Superman thing to do, this immigrant family to an icon of America that is about being an immigrant.
Right.
So it was an awesome story. And I mean, I wish, okay. So let's back up a second. Pardon me, listeners.
Yeah, we probably got off track a little bit.
Fandom Part 2, James, how did you feel? And I'll say this real quick, I didn't like as much as everything was dropped on there. As like a pick and choose. Because I felt like when it was like a one feed that we all were watching, even though we weren't together, we were connected. I could message you or someone else or tweet out, and we're all experiencing the same thing. So the hype is unified. Are you watching it right now? Did you just see this? With it being kind of a pick and choose, I felt like I'm experiencing something, and then all of a sudden I see people start talking about something else, and they just spoiled a surprise for me because they watched a panel before I got to it. And I just feel like there was no synergy. I mean, the official DC account was tweeting out almost like as if there was a lineup going on, but there wasn't. I personally would have wished they would have created a single stream to watch all together. And then we had all these side stuff we could have done, and it had just been 2 days, and you could still access it right now. Since it already kind of aired, we could go back, because that was part of it. Is there was a lot of stuff put on there. I didn't get to experience everything I wanted to because of either time and life and just technical problems. And just trying to get it all, because there was panels you're I haven't done that yet, or I didn't see that. I just felt like I felt like I kind of lost the community vibe that I experienced the first time.
I don't disagree, but I do. Do I think that maybe they led with their main foot forward right out the gate. Yeah. You know what I mean? Perhaps they should have switched it. Maybe like if they did 2 days in a row or something, like 48 hours, like the weekend, like the first day being what day 2 was, and then day 2 being actually the stream, like it was like day 1. Cause day one was your Hall H presentation.
Yes.
The thing about that is it's limiting. The thing about that, I mean, yes, it's unifying everybody. Like I said, I can't argue with it. Like, I don't disagree. It's unifying and we're all watching the same thing, but you're still only limited to what they showed. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
The fact that this day 2 was kind of like pick and choose. This was like a Comic-Con where you don't have to pick and only see what you can because it's all going on at the same time. You got to be able to see as much as you wanted or as much as you could. You got to pick and choose. You got to see things like you saw stuff that I didn't watch. I didn't get to see much, unfortunately, just because of life. The fact that it was – so the entire experience of Fandome was like a Comic-Con, like a convention where you've got your Hall H presentation, you've got your big budget, your Hollywood stuff, and then the rest of it was for the creatives, for the TV, for the smaller side, for the comics and stuff, the stuff that you're not going to get to see, that you wouldn't see because you're stuck waiting in line for a day and a half to get into Hall H. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Stuff you wouldn't even get to see, period, because you want to see this one thing. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I think that I liked day 2. I liked being able to pick and choose and watch what I want, you know what I mean, and see what I want. I wish there was more time and I wish it wasn't gone. I want to go back and watch more than what I got to see. I liked that they were doing that and they were embracing the past of DC, on screen, the past of DC in the comic books, and then the current stuff that's going on. They had 3 Jokers. They had Joker War. They had Deceased. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. They had these things going on currently. So I really think that it was – I really do like how they did it both days. So like I said, I don't disagree with you, and I do. Because I really thought it was really cool because day 2 was like they initially announced it. You could do all this stuff. You could go into all these different areas of the DC fandom, where on day 1, all there was that stream. And honestly, the thing that came out of it, what did we get? 5 or 6 trailers? We got Wonder Woman, Gotham Knights, the Suicide Squad, Justice League, the Batman, and Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League. We got like 6 trailers out of it. I mean, 6 trailers in 8 hours, you know what I mean, and a couple of smaller panels that gave a few detailed things. I mean, that's quite limiting, honestly. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was unifying the community, and it was great. It was awesome. I loved it. I loved watching the stream, having it go for 8 straight hours. I did. I really did. But then also this being able to, like I said, give the creators, you know what I mean? Like the comics is the base for this. Without these comics, we wouldn't have this Hollywood stuff. This is where the ideas are generated from the creatives who write these characters. That's their job, to write these characters day in and day out. You know what I mean? They deserve that time. They deserve that recognition and to be able to talk about what they're doing and about themselves and stuff. So I really like that day 2 was what they initially announced that Fandome was going to be. So I really think the entire thing was a hit. Maybe it was spread out too far. Maybe they could have done it, Hall H, Hall of Heroes the next day and done this the first day. maybe they led with their right foot their best foot forward, and it worked. I mean, it seems to have worked. I mean, it was huge hype for everything that we got out of Hall of Heroes. People were still talking about it up until day 2. And then day 2 comes around and we get some, there's a few confirmations of things that come out of day 2 that we're going to get to here shortly. But you also get to talk to these actors, and also you get to talk to and they get to discuss what they liked about what they've been doing, and the creatives, what they've been doing. And, it being recorded, being streamed, being Zoom calls with everybody from their home, it was actually really personal, and I really enjoyed it for what it was. They did a fantastic job with Fandome. Part 1 and part 2. I'm pleased.
I mean, I agree with what you're saying. Excuse me. Let me get a drink here. I agree with what you're saying. I would have liked there to have been like one big stream, and then some of the other stuff I can go and do. And because what I would like to do is the idea was I set my, set one thing to stream on my TV, and then while that's playing, if there's a panel on I'll jump on my, my tablet or my phone or whatever, and watch that, while watching the main stream. And I just feel, and I kind of wish that they had done that, and then the next day or two, they left everything unlocked, since it is all,
pre-recorded and up there. Yeah.
Or they start putting it on their YouTube channel, because there's some stuff that people have pulled that's on YouTube, but there's stuff, I watched. We'll get there, but so that was just my thoughts on Fandome. I did some, like I said, I did some of the panels, and I took notes on what I was able to experience, and we'll touch on that. So the biggest, let's see, Titans Season 3 is going to start filming October 13th.
Woo! I'm excited.
Oh, me too. Doom Patrol has been confirmed for a 3rd season, which is great since we did not enjoy the way the 2nd season ended.
Well, freaking COVID, man.
Oh, dude, don't even get me started.
It was a casualty. What are you going to do? Everything was affected.
That's why I'm just I try to let things go as much as I can.
Right.
Season 2 of Stargirl, Dr. Midnight is going to get an animal sidekick. And since so much of this stuff was pre-recorded, I felt like I didn't get a lot of the insight and the up and coming as much as I wanted them to kind of talk about.
Well, part of the fact is nothing's in production, so it's kind of there really is little to talk about because nothing's in production to a certain degree without giving away their plans. That's all they have is the plans. You know what I mean?
And Titans non-spoiler here. They're going to bring Donna Troy back in some fashion, as if we did not know that, James.
Yeah. Well, did you see how the moderator was talking about how they killed off Donna Troy, and Connor Leslie just kind of gave this laugh like she agrees or something with the rest of the people that the way she died. There's a purpose for the way she died, even though it was that's kind of ridiculous or something. Perhaps. I mean, I think people are reading into it maybe, but we'll see.
Yeah. I mean,
I expect her to be back. I do.
I expect it to be a part of Raven's story.
Mm-hmm. With Raven going to Themyscira, yeah.
I'm in the middle of rewatching Titans Season 2, and it still just feels so weird to me how that happened. And of course, at the end.
Well, it's crazy how both seasons of Titans were amazing, and then both season finales they just crashed a landing.
Herp derp.
You know.
Herp derp. So I'm gonna save the big one for the last part. We got to hear about 40 seconds worth of Junkie XL's score that he's working on, the theme for the Justice League.
Sounds good.
Sounds awesome.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds upbeat, and I mean, it's one of those things. I like Elfman's score, but to me, it would have worked better if that had been like in its own movie, and it doesn't match with Snyder's imagery as much. Like some of the Batman and Superman stuff kind of works just because that music is iconic for that character. So it works, but then when you think about the way like he scored Man of Steel and the way he scored BVS, they're very big, bombastic, and powerful. And then you get to Elfman's score, it's a lot quieter.
Yeah. Danny Elfman's score did not stick with me at all from the Justice League. Not even close to how Zimmer's did for Man of Steel and BBS and Junkie XL on BBS. And, you know, Elfman bringing in the classical scores for the classical themes for the heroes, you know, for Batman and for Superman. Yes, they're iconic for those characters, but they're also attached to a version, an iteration of those characters. It's not, I don't feel like it's transferable to different iterations of the characters, especially after another composer has created a great theme, especially for Superman. Hans Zimmer's Man of Steel is fantastic, and it elicits the same rise and the same, you know, confidence. You puff out your chest, you stand up a little taller just listening to it, like you do with John Williams. You know what I mean? It elicits the same emotions coming from you. And it was great. It was a great thing. And then you try to take it back to John Williams. It's not the same Superman. It doesn't belong. And it's, I mean, not that it's not great and iconic and it will ever go away. I don't want it to, but it's not the same. It doesn't belong to that Superman.
It's like, okay, first of all, Elfman, he tried to make the Superman theme dark, which was kind of neat when Clark came back to life. But there's something in the mix of that movie that makes it all suck.
Yeah.
And because the big part where you have the Batman march is right as like the explosion of the Batmobile ejecting from the flying fox, and you don't hear the music over the sound effects.
Yeah.
And you don't hear the Superman dun 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 when he punches Steppenwolf because it's so quiet and the scene is so loud. But also as a musician, you can take that piece of music and reorchestrate it and rescore, like use different instruments and redo it to where it's the same notes and music. But like I feel like Junkie XL could take the music for the Superman theme and then make it his style.
Yeah. Well, it's like what Elfman did to Junkie XL's Wonder Woman theme. The Wonder Woman theme from BVS and from Wonder Woman, the movie, I mean, it was done on a cello. It sounds almost like a guitar, but it was done on a cello. And then for Justice League, he orchestrates it. It was awful. I hated it. I hated it compared to what it was because it was so good for her character. And then they just take her back to this and then they bring the score down and they bring it down to that orchestral level and it's the same notes and stuff, but it's so low. It was so different. And it was just like, you're turning Wonder Woman from this awesome warrior who has this great music that sounds like she's going to war. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And then you make her you bring her in with this soft version of it, and you make her just like this demure character with that score behind her. I was like, that's awful.
It's like, okay, you think about the Man of Steel's like dun 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 dun, like how sometimes it's really soft to fit the mood, and sometimes it's like louder and bigger. I mean, for the past 7 years, my alarm to wake up to on my phone is, what are you going to do when you're not saving the world? Because it starts off with just that slight piano, and then it builds to the roll of the doom, 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 doom. Mm-hmm.
My ringtone for the last, I don't even know how many years, is The First Flight.
But yeah, I just, I hate the fact that like his, it's like, I feel like he was kind of lazy in a way. Like, what, he might as well have brought in his John Wesley Shipp Flash theme and threw it in there. It's like he didn't want to do the job. So like, I'm just going to take the Batman I already wrote and this already Superman stuff and just kind of redo it. Like, so I'm excited.
And I've never said anything bad about Danny Elfman's music. I mean, I've loved his scores and his music that he's made for like so many films over the years. Like, he's always been one of my favorite. He's well known. He's a great composer. But then he comes on to Justice League and he does what he did there, and that's just, it's awful. I don't like it. It didn't stick with me.
So speaking of a movie that we got teased, like, I don't know if you like pick like the watch verse, you could just watch the watch verse straight, and every now and then it would have little like 10-second like little things that says enjoy your viewing. And we got a enjoy your viewing with Crypto, the super dog, from the still in production announced Super Animals movie. Is that, or
Super Pets? I think
Super Pets. Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. So it's supposed to be like Crypto and Ace the Bat Hound. Which now, after seeing Crypto in that little bit, I really want that movie. The kids loved seeing Crypto. Salem wants to name a dog Crypto. I love my daughter. Love my daughter.
Awesome.
But like I was telling you, like, would an animated film be your best bet right now? Because you can do a lot of animation type work can be done, like computer animation can be done from home. When they've talked about being able to do voiceover like in home studios, and it's even if not, like you can be in your own booth, like it's a controlled environment.
Right. I was listening to an interview from a voice actor, and he was talking about recording stuff. He's like, yeah, I go into my closet, all the clothes make it like a soundproof room, and I'm just sitting there in my closet doing my voiceover. Like,
I will tell you,
that's awesome.
I don't think if I've never played it for you, James, I'll send you one of the songs that my band recorded in a makeshift guy's house who was turning into a studio. The drums were done in the living room. The closet was the vocal booth. We recorded guitars and bass sitting in the kitchen. I was doing bass while one dude was making fried beans on the, like, right next to me on the stove. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
that's cool.
And everything. So, yeah, I just feel like that could be a film that we might get to see as like something viable that they could turn around. We got an announcement, and at first I've seen two things. I've seen one that it was fake, one that it's true. So I just want to bring it up quickly that supposedly we'll be getting Superman the animated series on Blu-ray.
If we do, I'm buying it.
Yeah, me too. I actually was watching my DVD copies the other day because Sayla wanted to watch Supergirl, and that's when I had my epiphany that I sent you. There is no animated Superboy and Supergirl together on anything.
Right.
And that's horrible when your kids want to watch Supergirl and your son wants to watch Superboy, and you're like, "Oh, right, I have the animated series and I have Young Justice."
Right. Well, any version of Superboy that isn't Clark Kent has been around for near 30 years. And yeah, I mean, the only thing we've got a version of Superboy in is Young Justice.
And that's like the one thing I kind of am like.
And we don't have a Supergirl in there.
Yeah. And I was bummed that we never got in the continuity films. We never got to Supergirl. We introduced probably my favorite animated Superboy because he was a little bit of like all the different versions, a little New 52, a little 90s, a little Connor.
Right.
Little like,
and we did get the one on Rain, yeah.
he was cool, but then he gets killed off in Apocalypse War, and he didn't get to do much of anything, and we never got to Supergirl. So it's like, man, I would have liked a Superboy and Supergirl film. Like, what if we turned it on its head where Superboy is the one that discovers Kara, and
I do wish. Oh, sorry.
And she thinks he's Clark, So she thinks he's Clark, and then she finds out, no, he's not Clark, that Clark has really grown up, and we have that whole story. So,
right. I do wish that we were still getting continuity films, that they didn't just end everything the way they did, because I think there were so many more stories to tell. They had a good continuity going. They had some fantastic movies in there, I wanted more Teen Titans from them in that continuity. Superboy to join the team, Donna Troy in there.
Yeah, she got teased and was coming, and I would have loved at least one movie with Superboy and then Donna Troy, and gave us one more Teen Titans. And we've had this discussion, and I've had this discussion with Lilith too, that it felt like the end of the universe was rushed. Like, they weren't going to make that movie just yet, but they ended up making it.
Yeah, I think that was it was rushed. But I mean, it was a great line of films all the way up to the end. I pretty much thoroughly enjoyed every film that was released in continuity. So, we were talking about like recording from home and stuff. I watched the Young Justice panel, and they got to do a radio play that they had. And I mean, they're recording at their computers in their own homes in front of just a mic with their earbuds in, and I mean, these actors are doing a fantastic job. These voice actors I'm seeing the voice actors and I'm hearing the voice. I'm seeing the character just from the voice. I know exactly who they are, exactly what they look like. I mean, Crispin Freeman, who's freaking going between Will and Captain Boomerang, arguing with himself. It was great. I loved it. And it just proves, like, especially right now, that these animation shows and movies, like, they could really be, those things could be heavy in production right now. With the technology we have today, you can share anything with each other. Going back and forth, it's so easy to, these Zoom calls, these recording sessions, like, it would be so easy, and I hope that they are working on production of what we now know is Young Justice Phantoms, Season 4, Young Justice Phantoms. I hope that they are in full swing production or pretty close to it because of what we can do with technology today. Mm-hmm. So I hope we get Season 4 of Young Justice sooner than later, because, I mean, as we all know, it's an amazing show.
I mean,
I don't know, because there are TV shows that do not have, there are live action shows. None of the CW shows are as well thought out as Young Justice. Okay.
This is good.
So Young Justice is one of the best shows ever.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it is great. I was watching that radio play, and it was weird to watch. Like, I eventually just had to, like, turn away and just
listen to the voices.
Yeah, because it was kind of weird to see, like I'm staring at him just talking. I'm like, yeah, this is odd.
But then you got I can't remember her name offhand, but you got the woman who plays Artemis, and she does the voice for the computer. And you close your eyes, and she does the voice for the computer, and then automatically Artemis, whatever, B0, whatever, and she comes in, and she goes automatically from the computer voice to her Artemis voice, and you're just like, man, that's so good.
Oh, I know. What was
And
it?
if you never
It was
listened to
Jason. I can never pronounce his last name, but who does Forager?
Spizak,
Yeah, who does so
Jason
many great,
Spizak, yeah.
great voice acting parts in many different DC things. I just was like, wow.
I know I've I know I've pitched Whelmed to you, the podcast.
Yes.
The Young Justice podcast. That one they got really good, and they got so deep into it. They've got interviews with nearly every actor on that show, especially the Young Justice cast. Maybe not the Justice League people like Bruce Greenwood and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But they've got interviews with like Eric Lopez. They've got interviews with Crispin Freeman, Jason Spizak, a number of them. They've gotten interviews with most of them. And I highly recommend listening to Crispin Freeman, his episode in there, because that dude is awesome. He is interesting, and he is incredibly intelligent, and he is such a good voice actor. Like, I was surprised to actually see him,
Right.
like what he looked like and the voices that he does. And, but yeah, definitely. I definitely still recommend you going to check out Whelmed if you haven't yet.
I have, but I need to get back on it. I don't have the freedom to listen like I used to, so I have so many backed up podcasts. What else did I say? I did watch the first Superman radio drama, like the 1940s radio drama they did. But for some reason, like, I was watching and waiting, and I didn't see the second part where, like, Tim Daly was actually voicing Superman. I just saw, like, the Krypton part. So I was wondering if that's going to come out again later as something special.
That would be great.
Because I really would like to hear more of, like, the radio drama, because I was like, this is cool. And like I said, I watched the first one, which was like him. It was on Krypton, him getting off Krypton. And I highly recommend it. It's just amazing, just the talent behind a lot of people with just voice acting that they don't get. There wasn't a whole lot of like just Superman stuff, because a lot of it was just stuff that's already been out that was just repurposed as like a panel or something to go and see. Like, for example, I was a little upset that they went ahead and threw in the Superman Man of Tomorrow panel that they already had released online.
Right.
And I'm like, I would have loved to have watched that as part of Fandome, but, I did watch it when they released it online because they wanted to put it out before the movie, which is weird, instead of just having it like they did. So that was just kind of like, wow, like that's a great Superman panel that kind of got cut down. I did watch, excuse me, I watched a lot of stuff, but sometimes there just wasn't stuff like that was noteworthy. The Pennyworth panel was cool because that's like one of the DC shows that, like, because it's the only non-CW based show that's still in production.
Right.
That doesn't have any connection. Before anyone says the DC Universe stuff, we know it's connected. That stuff was all mentioned in Crisis, okay? Pennyworth was not. It's over there in its own little corner. But yeah, they were already filming in season 2. And the big thing that came out with the Pennyworth was that Martha's going to be pregnant. And I'm just hoping it's not going to be like some weird side story where it's the baby of like the devil or something. Because that was like the
Who
one.
Who knows, man? It's Bruno Heller. It honestly could be anything.
It's like that was the one thing like I really did not like in the first season. That whole like couple episode arc with Martha and his sister. And I'm enjoying Pennyworth for the Alfred, but I don't know. There's a lot of stuff I don't enjoy with that show. Just where I feel like they're taking the characters.
Well, like I watched the Harley Quinn panel, and they specifically posed the question from a fan, is there going to be a Harley Quinn season 3? And all they said was, we hope so. The panel was fun. The panel was really fun. The actors were hilarious. They were great talking about the show and working on the show and voicing the characters. And, you know, Ron Funches was there. Alan Tudyk, I forget who plays Kite Man, Lake Bell and Haley Cuoco. Like, they had a whole bunch of people there, and it was really fun. It was really funny the way they were interacting and stuff. But in the end, when it finished up, when it wrapped up, there was nothing to it except for just them talking about what they've already worked on. That's it.
And the only other thing from the Pennyworth panel I wanted to say real quick was,
Sorry.
No, you're fine. They're going to meet Lucius Fox. There's supposed to be more DC stuff coming, and Lucius Fox is going to be one of them.
Oh, yeah, I did hear that.
Because the whole point is, like, Alfred wants to get out of London, and he's trying to get to America as, like, his escape and start over. So, but, you know, with the whole thing being pre-recorded, some of it felt pre-recorded, some didn't. Last time didn't feel pre-recorded. But this one kind of upset me because it felt, you knew it was pre-recorded because the Three Jokers panel. Did you watch it?
No, I did not. That's one I didn't get to. With the limited time that I had, I was trying to watch stuff that's like currently going to see if there was any news about future like continued production, as well as like I wanted to watch things about like Superman and Supergirl for what we would be discussing. So my limited time, no, I didn't get to catch that one.
And that's
or
great.
The Joker War panel. I did watch the Deceased panel though.
I did not get to watch the Joker War when I actually had it up, and it was having trouble loading. And then Sayla went on my iPad, and I got in a fight with the kids. It was rough. But I just was.
I hope you beat them down.
The thing about the Three Jokers, yeah, it was cool to listen to them talk, because you know, I always say Fabok, but he said it differently, and I don't want to screw it up, but I probably will. Jason, and that's Jeff Johns referred to him as Jay. So Jay's, you know, talked about wanting to have a project that was iconic and timeless and up there as one of the major kind of stories that will be remembered and referenced for a long period of time. And I'm like, that's awesome. But you could tell it was pre-recorded because they talked about the upcoming book when the first issue comes out. Well, here we are. The first issue's already come out.
Yeah, a couple weeks ago.
So, but the one thing, they kept saying that it's in continuity. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Well, I mean, the idea that Three Jokers came from the Mobius chair, and that from Jeff Johns' Justice League, and that Rebirth continued from the New 52. So for the most part, current continuity, I know that they're expanding and ever expanding, and everything that took place before the New 52 is now continuity as well. However, it weaves together, you know what I mean? Or at least they're aware of what has happened before these changes in history and changes in time due to the crises. Mm-hmm. So everything is now actually understood as canon, even though the timeline has changed because of those. Mm-hmm. So the current timeline really is the New 52 up to what's happening now. Like, that is actually like the current timeline. And people would still like to try and forget the New 52 for whatever reason. I think the New 52 is great.
So I'm just like, I very much enjoy that we have that, like, just coming from them.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting once we finally get the issues of Three Jokers, all of them. It's going to be interesting to see if they explain it in any way. Maybe it's the crises or something. Why there are three Jokers and why there's a different Joker that paralyzed Barbara is the different Joker that killed Jason Todd, and why there's a different Joker who did this or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out.
It is. So that was my big takeaway from the Three Jokers panel. Was just the fact they said continuity. So I just was like, okay, cool. I'm okay with that. I like that. So moving forward, the Batwoman panel. Here's the biggest things from the Batwoman panel was she's going to get a new suit. They were talking a little bit about the new character of Ryan Wilder, and I couldn't hear it because the kids are making too much noise. But they did talk about her getting a new suit.
That's cool. And, they're going to talk about the character and how it's going to, how she's going to be and what the direction the character will drive the story. But the part that sucks is, we got these interactions between like Kate Kane and Supergirl, and, Kate Kane and Alice, her sister, and her stepsister. You know what I mean? We got these relationships developed, and now they don't mean anything.
Yeah.
That's the only salty part about the whole thing.
I agree.
In my opinion.
After rewatching Crisis, and then just how that felt of like, man, like the whole Supergirl and thing. So this is one thing that's kind of not fandom related, but this was something that you and I were talking about because I did not know this, that in the original, we're going to rant for a second, then we're going to go back to fandom. The original Titans finale had the Doom Patrol showing up to help the Titans, and Dick got his Nightwing costume then, because there's pictures of the Negative Man with the Titans in costumes, and then there's a picture of Batman with both Robins. And I'm just like, why could you not just drop that as like a special, like, hey, this is what this was going to be. We've already done season 2. Like, just let us watch it, like, for something new and exciting. Like how they've done unaired pilots and stuff, unaired, unfinished season finales.
Yeah. I mean, they did this. You know what I mean? They filmed this. They shot this. They've got this footage. They've got these people in these costumes. Like, they had an idea for the story, and then, like, they decided to end it where they did, cut off the finale, and then literally retool the entire show to be what season 2 was. Now, it was a great season. Deathstroke was fantastic. All the characters had so many good moments, but there was so little superhero stuff. There was so little costumes in season 2. Like, season 2 literally needed to be like a middle ground between what the CW does and what they did on season 2 of Titans. Like, it was, I mean, that's my only complaint. Even though it was really good, I mean, they would have been so much better almost to go with what they were doing instead of waiting until the end of season 2 to finally get us a Titans team.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we went through 2 full seasons of the show without getting the team.
We went through 2 full seasons without the team, where the second season what's weird is the second season dealt with the old Titans.
Old Titans and then the new Titans, and neither one was a team throughout the whole time.
And then we have the Teen Titans, who I'm referring to as Garfield, and, like, you have the Titans and you have the Teen Titans.
Right.
And we just were not getting anything. And
Yeah, I don't know I don't know what changed their minds to think that was the route that they should have gone. I mean, it was good and everything, but I feel it could have been a lot better.
And to me, the saddest part is like I like my superhero shows, like my comics. I want to see the costumes. I want to see the action.
Me too.
You know, so it bums me out when I feel like that's what they're not holding on to. Like you have these great costumes, like the flashback episode, and everything, where we see Aqualad and all of them. Like, but that is just something that I learned about today that I was like, holy crap, and I had to investigate. Okay.
I had seen like other pictures, but these pictures are so much better and like show that there was a lot more there, and then they just like scrapped everything.
Yeah. I don't get it, but
Oh, me neither.
maybe one day they can
The reason why they decided to do what they did, it's like I don't understand.
please come and explain this to me. But all right, so now the what we've all been waiting for, the panel that I've held on to for last,
Superman and Lois.
Superman and Lois, because I feel like there was
All right.
like we're a Superman-based show. There was some cool stuff they talked about, and then some other cool stuff that actually came out today that we're going to kind of pull into our conversation. Now, first thing I noticed about this panel was the showrunner is going to be Todd Helbing, who has been one of the better, or if not best, writers on The Flash for the earlier part of the series. So that, to me, you know...
That inspires confidence.
Yeah, because, you know, a lot of what The Flash was and is, I feel, is what we need more of, okay? And especially with a show like Superman. So that made me excited. They started talking about what they want to do in the series. And, you know, they talked about, and it's one of those things like, why would you even bring it up? But they talked about not having any kind of like marital relation issues or love triangle with Clark and Lois.
Yeah, that was. I mean, the fact that they had to say it, I think the only reason they had to say it is because it's on the CW. I mean, like, you know what I mean? Like, that would be the type of thing that they would do on the CW just because it's stupid.
Yeah.
But it's not something that's going to that would happen between Clark at the time he's married to Lois and has children.
Right. Like, that's not his character at all.
Exactly. So just the people who would bring that up, like, you don't know Superman. All right.
You're the ones who are writing Superman Lives. Okay. Just want to throw that out there. But yeah, so I was like, okay, they said that, and I'm like, of course they're not going to have a problem. This is Superman we're talking about. Like, if he's Superman, Jimmy, he cares about everyone. You know?
Right.
So I was just like, okay, thank you for saying that, but you didn't have to because it shouldn't even be brought up.
Right. It never crossed my mind that they were bringing Lana in to make marital problems or to have this love triangle between Clark and Lois. Never once did that cross my mind because that would just be stupid. Flat out. Like, I'm not sugarcoating it at all. Like, that would be stupid.
So the panel was, you know, conducted by host Jim Lee with Todd Helbing, and it had Tyler and Betsy there. So we had our Superman and our Lois, and it was cool to hear her, you know, like they talked about them as parents. You know, Betsy just had a daughter. Tyler has no children, so he talked about being
He's
an
uncle.
Yeah.
Yep.
So he talked about trying to pull from that experience and stuff he has. I thought that was cool. And, like, I'm getting more and more excited about him playing Superman. I liked him, like I've said before, in his first appearance on Supergirl. And then I thought he was decent in Elseworlds. And then he just was in the background for Crisis because, once again, they're not sure what to do with him. But now it's his own show. He can shine.
They purposely wrote him down to elevate Supergirl.
Yeah. So now we are in his own show, and it's going to be great to see him actually get to do his own thing.
Yeah. The only complaint that I have, obviously, besides them purposely putting down the character to elevate Supergirl, which this really has nothing to do with any of that, is the end of Crisis when Lois is telling him about their sons. They should have existed in this world, and this world should be the only world that they know. So he should know that he has two sons. The fact that that they instructed him to look surprised that he has two sons instead of one infant son was kind of stupid. Like, it was kind of messed up. Like, that's not the way it should be. Now, even if John Jones gave him the scoop like he did everybody else, the psychic download, he would still know the Earth that he's lived in the entire time.
Well,
New timeline, and he would remember what the old timeline was. So he still would not be surprised at having two children.
Well, let's face it, okay? First of all, I understand your logic, okay? But then that negates so much of what happened on The Flash, where Barry was having problems. He couldn't remember the streets and stuff because he was blending the in his mind, like the one where he ran to the railroad tracks because they were there when they weren't there before, or he couldn't remember he didn't know where his parents were buried because what was once a cemetery is not anymore. So, on The Flash, they dealt with the idea.
Well, The Flash was a paragon. He remembers the world before.
But that's the thing.
He woke up in a new world that he didn't exist in before. Tyler Hoechlin's Superman would have been the Superman that lived in that timeline from the very beginning of his life.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. I'm good. Yeah, I thought he got the memories, but yeah, those weren't till
the only way he could get the memories is if John gave him that psychic download of what happened during the Crisis.
Okay.
Because he was wiped out in Crisis. He wasn't one of the Paragons who would remember the world before Crisis.
Yeah, you're right. So, all right. I liked it. I like where your head's at. That's definitely.
I don't think that'll play a part in the show. It's just a little nitpick about Crisis, and his character.
Yeah.
Sorry, I got off topic.
No, it's still relevant because. So we got that. They talk about Clark and Lois are moving back to Smallville. Something's happened that they've decided they want to move back to Smallville. They want to raise their kids in a better environment than what living in Metropolis. And I've heard rumors of what that might be.
Oh, I was going to say, are we going to get Clark and Lois? Are we going to get Superman and Lois the show on the Smallville Kent farm that we all know and love?
Yeah, because I'm like 90% sure. Because I saw a thing today that the town where they shot Smallville is being used again.
Oh, that's going to be so cool.
So yeah, that was on my news here.
That's going to be sweet. I'm really interested in seeing what that's going to look like in a different show.
Yes. So am I, because it makes perfect sense, because that's the Smallville we all think of. The fact that you would then just retweak it because of the changes. So,
Well, especially since they went back to that farm a couple of different times, and that was the Kent farm on Earth 38, as well as the Kent farm on Earth 267, or 167.
yep.
167. Somebody said 267 on another podcast, and that's what it made me think of. No, it's 167.
So it what do you call it? It's exciting. So that was a piece of news. The show, he's going to get a new suit, because they said the suit wasn't made really to hold up the ins and outs of constant production. So I mean, it makes sense that he would get a new suit on the show.
Here's hoping we lose those shoulder clips, those cape clips.
My biggest, like I said to you, is the black suit. If you look at the way the boots and the belt are done on the black suit, is I like better. I like the boots that were done for the black suit. I like the collar on the black suit. The Mon-El suit, the way they flip everything, but they incorporate, blue and stuff in the way they did the Mon-El's belt, is much better. So just, color correct that, throw it on the Superman suit.
Right. Well, it's interesting because, like, the minor changes they made for, like, the black suit looks better than the suit that Tyler's in as Superman. The changes they made for Mon-El's suit and the cape clips, they even look okay on that suit. That suit looks better. It's a version of the Superman suit, but it's a Mon-El suit. That suit looks better the way it is than the Superman suit that Tyler Hoechlin's wearing. And even Supergirl's new suit for this last season, even the cape clips look fine on her suit. It's just that little collar thing in the middle that looks weird. But even that looks better than the Superman suit that Tyler's wearing.
So all this to say is, yes, he does deserve a new suit.
Yeah.
We would like to see this new suit, and we would like not to have the cape clips. I'm not even going to go.
And I would not, and I don't want the trunks.
I
will say I don't want the trunks.
I don't think the trunks work. They don't work in live action continuing. I mean, they worked on Brandon because it was kind of that continuation from what we already knew, and that the Kingdom Come style. But I don't think I could, I mean, I can, but I don't think other people...
I hope not. I mean, I would go with it if they did it, but I don't want it.
I don't think other people would really, get behind and really be, championing Superman, because, I mean, I just think, why are we so hung up on the trunks when I don't see people or hear people beating the drum to Batman's suit needs to have the trunks again? It's like once they ditch that in live action, people are like, oh, yeah, Batman just doesn't need those in live action. We're good.
Right. Yeah.
But Superman, they're like, nope, we have to have these. So.
Yeah. Sometimes I don't know. Sometimes, I mean, people have a hard time accepting change, but kind of is part of life. And the older you get, the more you should realize that, and the more people fight against it. I don't know.
Excuse me. I think that I'm excited for this show. We got confirmation that John Cryer will be Lex on the show.
Sweet.
Jim Lee was on the panel. He popped in as an artist and taught the people how to draw Superman's shield and told them a trick that John Byrne had taught him. And that was, it's like drawing two fish inside the diamond.
Yeah. What he did, that is what he said, but the main takeaway was more like, focus on drawing the negative space in between the S, not drawing the S itself.
Yep.
Like the S will pop out once you draw the negative space inside of the diamond, and that negative space kind of looks like a fish.
And we know that here in just like next week, they're going to begin production on the show.
Yeah, that was Bitsy Tulloch's post on Twitter or something, wasn't it? That all the cast and crew are now in Vancouver and they're quarantining, and then once their quarantine is over, they can begin production.
Yep. So the last thing to kind of chit chat about is we get a look at a shield that says Superman and Lois that was on Bitsy's script. And I thought we just kind of, because this is coming up now, people talking about, is this the symbol for the show, for the Superman? And it's a very more New 52 styled crest. And you know me, I have always been a big kind of believer in you should tweak the S just enough that each super character, actor has their own crest. Okay, Brandon's as Superman Returns, we know how that shield looked.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, Henry technically has two different ones for the Man of Steel style. Almost three, actually, because you have the solid red, the one from the first suit, and then the way they did it in BVS.
Yeah, that's got a little bit of the extra Kryptonian across the middle of the S.
You know, Dean's is wide and has a certain way about it. George's has a little bit more of a compressed way about it. Even on Supergirl, if you look at the way it is, they do the gold, but then they have the blue in the negative space instead of the yellow, which I really liked because I felt like that kind of gave it just a little bit more identity to say that's Supergirl.
Yeah, Supergirl's got her own. It's red and it's got the blue, and then the S is just outlined in yellow.
And I really, really like that because like I always have a thing like I've taught my daughter is, the Superman symbol is the same as the Supergirl symbol, but yet in all like the kids' clothes and marketing or whatever, they always make it pink.
Right.
You know, like that's Supergirl, it's pink. And I'm like, no, it doesn't have to be. Like, it's just the way that you do it because you want to show that it's a girl.
Yeah. Not that just a girl wearing it means it's Supergirl, whatever. It's got to be pink.
Yeah, like, so I am a big, that was one thing I always complained about. I felt bad for Tom was he never got like his own S. He was basically just having to do the styles that had come before him compared to like all the other Supermen.
Right. I mean, he did get the only one spray painted, and he did get the only one embroidered in leather.
I mean, yeah, but if you just drew the symbol, no one would ever say, "Oh, that's the Smallville, crest." But if I drew the Man of Steel or the Superman Returns, you're gonna flat out say, "Hey, that's the Superman Returns." Look.
Right. Yeah, there is a specific difference.
So I'm hoping that maybe if they do this style, then that'll be kind of Tyler's signature. Because I mean, I like the way his rubbery S looks on his chest, but it looks like the kind of texture of the Man of Steel with the classic S.
Right.
And so if this is the new symbol that we're going to work with, cool,
Definitely.
But I mean, that's pretty much, my notes, my takeaways from. There was a lot that happened. I hate that I missed as much as I did. I would have liked to have got to explore more.
They had a stunt person panel where they were talking to a bunch of stunt coordinators.
That was in the inside verse.
Yeah, and they had Gal Gadot's stunt woman on there. Like they had the Black Lightning coordinator, the Titans coordinator, the Supergirl coordinator. They had Gal Gadot's stunt woman, and they had somebody else in there. they had that panel. They had what else did they have? There was a whole bunch, a couple of little things. I looked and I was interested in those type of panels, because I like the fitness aspect and the training that these people go through to do the shows and to perform the stunts and things. So I checked those out, which was pretty cool. There's another one I checked out because of that. It was the flight behind Supergirl and Shazam. I started that one, but I got busy and I didn't get to watch that. So there was a whole bunch of stuff on there, and I'm kind of upset that it's not available to go back and watch. I was telling you, I was like, I wish that this would be available beyond today, because there's so much here. Like you have to pick and choose, and you can only watch so much in this amount of time. And I'm not even sure if you stayed up the full 24 hours, if you could watch everything.
Right. That's what I was, thinking is like, we're kind of going through stuff, and I feel like a lot of stuff was like, okay, this is this. And I'm like, okay, did I get a chance to digest it? I don't think I did. It's like, man, I would have loved to have been able to really think about what it was that I just saw and like dwell on it and reflect on it before we come and we talk about it. But it's just, it's so much. But what are we going to do? I'd rather have too much than barely any. And
yeah. Well, you know what? I mean, the positive thing is we know that there is some stuff coming. We know that we've got some things that are getting ramped up to get production going here soon. Canada has done very well in this whole situation, and they're getting things opened up, and safety comes first. And hopefully we're going to get these productions going up soon. So we're going to have some new DC content coming again, start of next year, which, is only 3 months away.
yeah.
So, thank you, Canada. You know what I mean? Thank you, Canada, for that. Because if it was America, that certainly wouldn't be happening. So yeah, just looking forward to some more DC content to be able to check out coming soon.
And it's like, like we said, anything that is not something that has to be, we have to go anywhere for, is going to be much better. The fact that the stuff that's going to air on the CW, like we don't have to leave our house to enjoy, is going to fare very well. So it's just kind of a bummer, like right now, people are blasting The Boys Season 2 because Amazon decided to do a weekly release.
Right.
And you know what I say is those people that are pissed are the people that sign up for the free trial, binge this series, and cancel.
Right.
They're mad.
Grow up a little bit. Grow up a little bit. Come on.
There's no new content being shared or being created right now. So taking what you have and kind of spreading it out to kind of help your service makes sense.
Well, I'm surprised at this point that Netflix is still doing the binge model, because they announced that they were going to the weekly release schedule like Disney Plus, like HBO Max, like Hulu had even done in the past, So it's not a new thing, but these people who binge everything and then spoil it for everybody, they're getting pissed because they can't be the trolls that they are.
It's just like I hated when the new Marvel show would drop, and it would drop, and by the end of the day, people are posting their season reviews or their podcast commentary thoughts on I'm like, it just came out like a couple of hours. You literally stayed
Right.
up and watched it straight through with nothing else to do. Like, this is,
Yeah. Like, I'm sorry you don't have a life, but I do. Like,
you know, it's like, I can't help that you get paid to review stuff.
some of those people don't. They just do it to be trolls and because they don't have a life.
And I'm just like, you know what? Like,
Because the people who get paid to actually review that, they actually get to see it before it gets released.
yeah, like most,
You know what I mean?
most reviews, if you listen to them talk, they'll talk about, they'll get the first 3 episodes they'll get access to start their reviews. And that's what it is. The first 3 episodes.
Yep.
So it's just, I don't know. It just gets old. But all right, man, we've been chatting and blabbing. Anything else you want to say?
No. I think we covered everything.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. So all right.
Covered everything we could.
All right. So remember, good listener.
Look up in the sky.
Look up in the sky.
Look in the sky.